All right, we're back. The Pure Athlete Podcast, where we talk deep dive into conversations, all things sports, and relating it back to student athletes and their parents.
Yep.
So we're super excited to have another episode. Make sure you subscribe, smash the subscribe button, like it, give us feedback as well, because we can also come with a lot of more information or topics or things for you guys. But we are always working to be better with our podcast. But here we go. We are episode 3.
Woo!
We've got some guest podcasts getting ready to launch off, which is super cool. We've got a bunch of exciting guests, and we're kind of backlogging at this point too, which is super cool. But again, just all topics with these guests, their careers potentially, their insight, their professional status with whatever it might be. But we've got a backlog of guests, so make sure you subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Instagram,
Spotify, Instagram, Facebook,
anywhere.
Amazon Music too.
Yep, we're on Amazon as well. So anywhere you can find podcasts, but our social medias, personally and professionally, you got Dr. Dustin Boston on Instagram and everything else. And then we have...
Mine is Erin.Ruggieri.atc.
Yeah, Erin Ruggieri.atc, the Italian stallion herself. The athletic trainer, Erin Ruggieri. And this is actually your segment where you get to talk for about the next 10 seconds before I cut you off.
Yeah.
So we can figure out what's going on with Erin.
Yeah, so I was in KC this last weekend.
Yep.
I did not see Taylor Swift for all the people out there.
Oh, of course.
We were at the KC Classic at Liberty High School. So my JV team competed both of their competition routines, and they also won the high point for all JV teams. So
congratulations.
Very, very proud of them. And we're on the road to our next one is in Chicago, and then we'll be in Orlando at Disney. Before I even know it. Scary.
Dance coach extraordinaire.
Yep.
Like I said, Italian stallion. She does it all. She's a thoroughbred, folks. She just leads with intention and winning on the brain. Look at that.
I guess I need to do like a horse sound or something.
Yeah, you got the best smile in a mirror a woman could have.
Nay.
Love it.
Nay.
All right. Well, we got a packed lineup today. Super excited to go through some of these topics. But let's kick that off. I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah.
Go.
All right. So
Hang on a second. Before we kick this off, so for all of you out there, I don't know if we're trying to slow cook hot dogs in here, but is anybody else warm?
Yeah, I'm getting toasty.
Yeah, that vest is making me sweat.
It's even hot over here.
Okay. Are you warm enough, Producer Sam?
Actually, no, but it's okay. We'll be fine.
You're done. Okay. Now let's kick it off.
Now we can begin. Okay, so the first one of our weekly roundup is, Alabama actually won the SEC championship. Not sure if you knew that.
You're just going to kick it right off.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. But the important thing is they won with the quarterback Jalen Monroe that we talked about a few episodes ago. Mm-hmm. He was the third string who they told him he would never see the field. Yeah. But here they are. They're winning, so... Big congratulations to them. What was it? Roll elephants? What did we decide?
Yeah, roll tide. Tide is now a group of elephants.
Yeah.
So yes, we're rolling tide. We're scooting elephants across the field. But controversial topic with the whole. We are aware of how the BCS has ranked everybody. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I really have a dog in the fight for that. I don't necessarily agree with it. I kind of get it. I kind of don't. I don't really get too wrapped up in the drama, but. I would love to see a consistent way versus how we feel these teams match up and line up.
Yeah.
That's what I do love about pro sports is you have divisions, you have conferences. Who wins the conference definitely goes. You have wild cards, and it just is.
Yeah.
So, but as far as Milroe's status and what he's done for that Alabama team, that's a super cool story because it was up in the air at the beginning of the year. Yeah,
and they got put into the playoffs over teams like FSU who had a perfect season, and they even got over Georgia too, which I don't know. We can probably look it up, the stats on how long it's been since Georgia wasn't in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But it's been a while.
Yeah, they've had a pretty good run.
Yeah.
And so, very odd. I don't know if I even want to go down that slippery slope. There's some things I don't agree with. I do understand the FSU and strength of schedule and who they've lost to, but who played them tight. They almost lost to.
Yeah.
Because they did go undefeated. But so I see that, I hear that, but at the same time, undefeated's undefeated.
Right.
And if you have 5 undefeated teams, then you either have to have a tiebreaker of some sort, or you have a wild card in there. And sometimes good teams with great records are going to miss out. I mean, I remember watching, there was some years in baseball where you had multiple 100-win teams,
Right.
and there were teams with high 70 or 80 wins that didn't make it, or basketball teams that didn't make it, and it's just like sometimes those years happen. But I don't know.
How long has it been?
So Georgia has only made 3 playoff appearances, which was 2017, 2021, and 2022. Their playoff record is 5-1, but Alabama has had 8 playoff appearances. Their playoff record is 9-4, and they have 18 national titles.
So what I'm hearing is Roll Tide.
Yeah, Georgia has just recently really come into their own. You're done. Has just recently come into their own.
So,
in college football.
Yeah. All right. So our next one is LeBron James' son, Bronny, actually made his debut after suffering a cardiac arrest event at practice. So we had the cardiac arrest event on July 24th of this year. And he made his debut, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, good for him. There's unfortunately been a lot of that going on over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Glad he's okay for sure, and was able to make his debut at USC.
Yeah.
And I didn't catch that game. I didn't see any stat lines on it. I haven't looked yet, but I'm just glad he's able to show up and be on the court. I saw some of the clips of LeBron and fam showing up with. Which, you can sit courtside, watch your son play, but at least he's playing. It's
the LA Lakers vice president of operations was also there too. So he's getting scouted already.
Oh, yeah. It's only a matter of time. Money breeds money, talent breeds talent. And hopefully, as we talk with, our topics of mental, physical, and relationships, hopefully he exploits those relationships properly because, he's got, he's in an arena where he can just talk to anybody he would want and need to talk to.
Right.
So hopefully he has a great college career and leverages the relationships he has, and he can go wherever he wants to go, I'm sure.
Yeah.
As long as the talent shows out.
Yeah. So our next one is Mizzou's Cody Schrader was named the 14th winner of the Bullsworth Trophy on December 4th. So pretty recent. So this award, for people who don't know, it's given to the nation's most outstanding player who began as a walk-on, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Because you come in as a walk-on, you're not on a team, you don't have anything, and then now he's like a household name.
Right.
And then after their win against Tennessee, he became the only 10th player in history to rush over 200-plus yards a game. And he was named first team all SEC.
That's an incredible story. And the school he transferred from, we actually take care of a few athletes, and we have a couple athletes going to that school.
Yeah.
He was Truman State, right? So to see him transfer from a smaller school in northern Missouri and to see what he's done, that's just talent, ability, opportunity, class. I'd put him on my team.
Oh, yeah.
I hope he gets a shot at the next level just because of who he is and how he plays. Just to watch him run and just how hard he works on the field. You can see people, it's like, man, he's a great runner. He's run the ball well. This kid's there's just something.
Like a bulldozer.
Just something different about him when you watch him for sure. But very gracious, very highly liked among teammates in the locker room and around the league. It's like I've heard a lot of people say it's like, he runs hard, but out from underneath the helmet, just a great guy too. So which is super encouraging to hear because that's the biggest thing. It's like your reputation at the end of the day, and you win accolades like these, and to see him and how he reacts to this.
Right.
It's been a breath of fresh air. So all the kids out there, pay attention to guys like that as far as how to carry yourself and just be well loved across the conference, across the nation. But congratulations to him for sure, because that's a huge deal.
Yeah, and also his coach actually got named the SEC Coach of the Year, which is so cool. And has also been named in a finalist for a different award, the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award. And that's a national award for all the coaches across the NCAA too. So they're kind of I feel like there's like a power trio up there right now. It's him, Brady, and Coach.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, this hits definitely close to home for us.
Yeah.
So we're 90 miles from Mizzou.
Yeah.
And so to see that, we have a lot of clients, a lot of previous clients that in an office in Columbia that we refer back and forth to when kids are at school or when they're back here at home in the St. Louis area. But it does hit home for us. So it's fun to see, much like, people of Alabama or whatever school, if you have a chance to bring in a bowl game or a championship, it's fun to have that energy, because even here in St. Louis, like this is like Columbia extended. Everybody's probably like, where the hell's Mizzou?
Yeah.
It's in Columbia, Missouri, right in the middle of the state. It's about an hour and a half from St. Louis, but that buzz comes all the way down Highway 70, and it's definitely big in St. Louis too, so it's cool.
It's really cool. All right. So moving on to our next segment is professional opinions. So Sam, give us what we're reacting to.
What's up, guys? How's it going today?
Great.
Let's go.
Good. So we are talking about a few dancers today.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys keep up with Dancing with the Stars, but Danielle Karagrach and Haley Erbert, who is married to Derek Huff.
Okay.
They both sustained injuries recently.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Daniela. She broke her ankle on the national tour in 2022. And then before the season finale this year, she was paired with Jason Mraz. She re-broke her ankle. Yeah. And then there has been a video circulating. Erin actually showed it to me of her right before being injected with something. TikTok doesn't say what it is, but it's in her left butt cheek. It looks like. I'm not quite sure what that would be. That's more obviously your guys' territory.
What you got? What's the scoop on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it right now. Dancers are badasses. So
if you want mental and physical toughness, grit.
Yeah.
If I've ever seen one, it's a dancer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, following both of them very closely. So Haley's actually from KC.
Okay.
So it's really cool that she's married to Derek Huff, which was like every dancer's crush growing up.
Even mine.
Yeah, I'm like, she did it. She did it. But however, we're talking about Daniela first. Number one, when she broke it on tour, I remember very vividly that she really didn't take any time off. I mean, they're on tour. They've had sets prepared forever. They're with a partner. There's really not time to reblock a whole thing, especially when they're on tour in a different city, mostly every night. The video itself, though, it's 5 seconds before they're about to walk on the floor, and she gets probably a cortisone injection. And then she performs the rest of the finale, and they're dancing 5 times. Yeah. And never once is she even showing it at all.
She gets thrown off Jason Mraz's shoulders.
Oof.
She does a toe touch and then lands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her husband is actually a pro on Dancing with the Stars as well.
So same ankle.
Yeah.
And so where's she at now? What's the?
Yeah, I mean the season's over now, so hopefully she has some good time off. I know they're preparing for another tour, but I mean given the circumstances, this is the thing with injections and all of that. Yes, they might have their time and place in your own professional opinion. In mine, no. But in someone else's, maybe. Yeah. But what's going to happen is just going to deteriorate the tissues faster. Yeah. So after you have those injections, it's so important to take the time off and actually heal, because when you're doing those injections, you're basically just wiping the slate clean and you have to restart healing. Yeah. It's not a pause, okay, nothing's going to happen to the tissues and stuff in my ankle. No, you're actually making them worse. Yeah.
The thing about steroid injections, and like you said, there's a very small percentage time and place kind of scenario, and this could have been it. Show's got to go on. There's no other option. Yeah. And so if that is something that people choose and elect to do, what we're going to do is always promote and give resources. Yeah. I think there's something that we can make, and we should speak on this more honestly, and just so people understand what is the steroid injection doing right then, right after, and then days, weeks, months after. Yeah. So it's super important that people know what steroid injections do is, simply put, is if you hear inflammation, very high inflammatory, it gets all the inflammation out of the joint space or wherever you're injecting, right? Which, yes, sounds great on paper. It's get the inflammation out. I could talk on inflammation, and I'll save that. I'll glimpse it here.
Yeah, save the nerd talk. Thanks.
Hey. That's the good stuff. That's the meat and potatoes. But it gets the inflammation out. The idea is it gets the inflammation out very quickly. But for this, we're going to call inflammation fluid.
Yeah.
Right. So not only does it get inflammation out, but it also takes a lot of the other fluid with it. It's like, I don't care what it is. If there's fluid in this joint space, it's got to go.
Yeah.
So now you're literally promoting dehydration of the tissue. But the thing with inflammation is it intensifies pain signaling.
Right.
So your C fibers get more, there's more excitation to the C fibers, which then increases pain signal. So it can give her the ability to be more comfortable on stage, get the inflammation out. However, long term, drying out the tissues.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about, it's really similar to a lot of the bodybuilders that are just breaking down now.
Yeah.
What did they take? Steroids.
Yeah.
Anything like cortisone. I mean, anything with that ending in it is a steroid.
Yeah.
And so you see these bodybuilders breaking down now with more ligament issues, or some of them are in wheelchairs because that their joints don't have the capability to operate, or the synovial lining of those, which makes the joint spaces very slick against each other, start to break down. And it's literally, yes, bone on bone, but that bone will start to literally connect to each other. It makes it very, very hard. Like a true frozen shoulder scenario is a very similar outcome long term from multiple injections.
Yeah, to break it down like more simply, I always tell people it's kind of like whenever
that wasn't simple enough for you.
No, for me, yeah.
I was like,
maybe not for Sam over there.
How can I bring this?
But like I always say, it's like whenever a river floods and you're going through like the ground that the water's going to go through, like as it goes, it's taking things with it. It's decaying. It's making everything so you can't usually like use it. That's why things get closed down when it's flooding. Exactly the same thing.
Yep. So, and that's why, there's other alternatives for things like that. Now, again, time and place, Olympic scenario, championship scenario, you still have a choice. You can say, no, I don't want to do that. So like you said, my preference, no, not really. Time and place, I could see it. But long term, here's what you need to know. Here's how you counteract it. But the alternatives, like we have tissue regenerative therapy in our office. So I literally tell people, if you hear steroid injections, this is the option. We've had multiple high school students. We've had multiple general population also do this. Myself, it's just a great alternative to really releasing dormant stem cells, which is also can vasodilate the area, which is also going to move inflammation out, which is also going to give you the same effect.
Yeah.
It reacts with everybody differently, but instead of potentially super expensive stem cells or the steroid conversation, there are alternatives out there. We just got to get them out there more so people know where they're at.
Yeah. All right. What about Haley?
Also, Daniela earlier in the season did have her thumb popped back into place as well. There's a video of that.
Small potatoes.
Yeah.
Small potatoes to a broken ankle, but
sorry to hear that, Daniela.
Yeah, her poor thing. The grit it takes to be a professional dancer or a dancer in
general. What's up with Haley?
Haley underwent emergency brain surgery after a performance last week. Derek said that after he and Haley performed, she became disoriented and was taken to the hospital. And then she was diagnosed with a cranial hematoma from a burst blood vessel that required an emergency craniotomy.
Okay.
And according to Columbia Neurosurgery in New York, a cranial hematoma may occur after a moderate or severe head injury, like during a car accident, a bicycle accident, or a fall. Symptoms can be present immediately after, and in some cases, they take days, weeks, hours to appear. And it just so happens that Derek and Haley were in a car accident last December. And so they were in the San Bernardino Mountains, and Haley walked away, in her words, a little banged up with a swollen face and 4 stitches in her head, but she's now in stable condition. So
I think anytime you have a swollen face and stitches in your head, that's enough to create a TBI of some sort, physically and cognitively.
Yeah, I don't think people take it seriously enough that after any kind of impact, you have to check for that. Like even after concussions that people don't want to tell your coaches or your ATs about, like you have to tell them because this is what could happen.
Yeah. And we check a lot of student athletes, but even in the general practice side, I'll touch on real quick. Like we always tell people, if you're in any sort of car accident, I don't care if you're general population, athletic population, I don't care who you are, get checked.
Yeah.
And ideally get checked by not just a neurologist, but I'm a firm believer in yes, being a chiropractor and going, we've got two different sides of perspectives, we'll say. We both have great care, but the neurosurgeon side or the neurologist side, but also the chiropractic side, there's a lot of us that specialize in neurology. The functional medicine, the neurophysiology is so important. And that's what we focus on. I tell people all the time, it's like if you do transport, still get checked. If anybody needs help or wants to know where they can find, a chiropractic office that's more neurologically based, feel free to reach out. But get yourself, your kids, whomever it is, get checked, because the watch and wait thing sometimes not so great, but some of the technology that people have and that we have, that we can see, okay, how's the nervous system functioning?
Right.
Because stuff like this long term, it's, one, that's the get checked part. Going back to your point is you have to say something.
Yeah.
Like swollen face and 4 stitches in your head and you walked away just a little banged up.
Right.
Nah, it's probably something that might have been able to be caught beforehand. Even just a little bleed that's still contained within tissues and it's not leaking onto the brain surface. That's how these things happen. I mean, a hematoma, people think bruise, and that's literally what it is. It's a space where these blood vessels have bursted, and while it might have been contained, eventually what will happen is it's like a balloon. That pressure will increase so much, it'll pop the balloon and it'll leak, and then you start having these symptoms that can act like a stroke or very disorienting.
Yeah. Well, and I know like since December, they've been preparing for this tour and been on tour. So she hasn't been just not doing anything, which is even kind of more concerning that like, yes, it was probably contained at the moment of impact, but then from then, like in ballroom dancing, for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of head motion. There's a lot of whipping around, and it would take like one minor concussion for her to not be stable right now.
Right. And so, I'm glad they found it when they did, because this could have been a very traumatic situation. Yeah. And so, but this also goes to the impact that you have in a car accident for things like this. Also, is the same impact you can have over and over again from a head ball, or from a flyer being dropped on you in head-to-head impact or knee-to-head impact.
Yeah, head springs, all those kind of things, headstands.
Yep.
Kip ups, even though you're not on your exact head, like you're still kipping up from your cervical spine.
Right. And then, football, hockey, head-to-head contact, things like that. While you might not think anything of it right then, and you get up and you weren't really disoriented, some of the force, the impact force, I mean, if you saw some of these numbers, is pretty outstanding. And it's like, holy cow. If you saw those numbers, be like, man, I had this many newtons at the side of my head, drill me, you would probably say, man, we should probably go get that checked out. But in sports, it's just, you don't think about it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how it's happened. If you take any sort of trauma to the head, especially if you end up swollen with stitches, get checked out, be very cognizant of what's going on, be very aware of yourself or your child, your athlete, your teammate. Just be very aware.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have one more, and this is something that we have been talking about in the office throughout this football season, because we watch it on our, big screen TV in the adjusting area. We talk about it all the time. MetLife Stadium in New York has seen 17 very serious injuries in the last 3 seasons, and artificial grass or turf could be the main cause. So MetLife is a turf stadium. Statistics support this, the idea that artificial grass is more harmful. And the NFL did a study, and the data says 7 out of 10 stadiums with the highest number of injuries between 2017 and 2022 used this synthetic surface. But this data does not only apply to professional sports. According to a study conducted by WashU here in St. Louis, it was observed that collegiate athletes were 58% more likely to suffer injuries on artificial turf. MetLife has had a total of 3 Achilles injuries, 13 cruciate ligaments, and 1 patellar tendon injuries since 2020. And some of those major injuries have been Aaron Rodgers, his Achilles this year, Sterling Shepard, his cruciate ligament in 2022, TJ Brunson and his cruciate ligament in 2021, and Mr. Nick Bosa himself with his cruciate ligament in 2020.
Yeah.
Erin, you're on.
I saw a thing on this also that underneath MetLife is cement. It's turf on cement. So that's another reason that this is happening. But I also would be interested to know which cruciate ligament these injuries happen to, because more often than not, it's probably going to be like on that medial side. And then we're talking about dynamic valgus. We're talking about all kinds of non-contact injuries. There's a lot more stats I would like to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. MCL, PCL, ACL,
Yeah.
LCL. I mean, pick one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I think the good thing is, and we talk about this a lot because it's one of the very easy variables to see.
Yeah.
I could also critically think through a couple other variables that probably need to be addressed, or, things that I'm continuing to learn, in practice and critically as a physician. But I think there's a couple other things we could think of, but it's just so easy to go after the turf. And I'm not so sure people are wrong doing that.
Right.
Because it's one of the most recent things that have changed. Because yes, these injuries are still going to happen.
Right.
But at the rate these are happening, it's like, 17, almost 20 injuries in the past 3 years that have almost ended careers.
Yeah.
Definitely a variable. And what's alarming to me is like, they've got to know that too. Like I would love to just hear like, hey, what's your guys' thoughts on this? And just hear their side, not from an intense debate at all. I just want to hear, because they've got to be aware of it, and either they've nixed it or they're still having conversations and looking into it, or they're going to hold strong and be like, no, we're sticking with turf. But I have a small feeling that, are they considering grass again?
Right.
I mean, they've got 2 teams that play there. There's 2 incomes, I guess you could say, that go into that stadium. It's like, is it out of pocket to just put grass back on that field?
Right.
With the technology we have now and the resources, it's like they do this stuff like left and right and roll it up, and it's
they do. It's wild.
But I'd love to know what their thought is
Right.
on that, because everybody's talking about at least this. It's like, oh, MetLife Stadium. We're not the only ones that have brought this up.
No, I think also the other thing is a lot of these injuries that I'm just thinking about on top of my head are away teams. So they're not used to playing on like the turf field. They're not used to playing on the cement. Like there's other factors that come into play with it not being your home turf.
Yeah.
If it's your home turf, a lot of NFL facilities, they have a practice like field. So AKA in my head, Aaron Rodgers, he is new to the Jets. He played all of the fall camp on a practice field. He didn't play until the very last preseason game, which wasn't even at MetLife.
Yeah.
So it's all about
so he is still a foreign player to MetLife Stadium, for sure.
So it's all like you're not used to it. I mean, there's other factors like the way that they make the way they make cleats now.
Yeah.
That's different. The way that we're doing like lifting. There's so many other factors, but yeah.
It makes me wonder, and this is something that I might need to get with my boy, Dr. Trent Nessler on
my
this.
boy.
So, my buddy, Dr. Trent. Because sometimes I wonder, how strong is too strong?
Yeah.
We've talked about this too. It's like tendons, tissues. It's like, how much give do you decrease? It's like where now your ligaments more of a cable than it is, absorbing some force and being elastic of some sort.
Right.
It's like, how strong is too strong? And it could be nil. It's like, well, as the muscle grows, like there's some variables in there that really doesn't affect the origin or insertion point of these tendons and ligaments.
Yeah.
But that's one of the questions I have, because it's like, okay, you've got these guys like, shit, it wouldn't surprise me if they're like squatting 1,000 pounds now. It's like, holy cow. It's like, how strong is too strong? Where back in the day, you had these good old boys that it's just like, they're packing feed, they're throwing hay, or whatever. They're climbing monkey bars and like a lot of body weight stuff, and they're strong. Like they're no less functionally strong than the players today. It's like, put the steel curtain up against some of these offensive lines. They're going to hang. Right. But anatomically, it's like, wish we could put some sensors on the ligaments. You get guys with tree trunks. I mean, like, is it AJ Dillon? One of the running backs. It's like, I look at his legs and I'm like, holy shit, his legs are the size of my waist. Right. So it's like, how strong is too strong? Does that play a factor? But it's super easy to go after the turf.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like there's a lot more to come to play, just not turf.
Yeah. And I'm also surprised on how many fields are. I want to say there's somebody that's already switched, but I'm paying attention to like, okay, which fields are grass fields? Right. So hopefully they just go back to grass. I'm big with that. Even on the college side, all these baseball fields are like solid turf, even on the infield. That just degrades the game. It's like, It's supposed to be dirt.
Yeah.
I just pray that a lot of the baseball stadiums don't
Yeah.
make their outfield turf or
Man, that would be.
make their infield turf. It's like
Their
holy
ATs would
cow.
be busy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No
So I did just look it up, and some of the reason why these stadiums are going back to grass is because the World Cup is coming in 2026.
Yeah.
And a lot of these football stadiums are hosting
Yep.
these soccer players
And
who
that
are
might be the saving grace for
Yeah.
the next generation.
Thank you, World Cup.
After 20. I always said
thanks,
something
FIFA.
totally off topic, but that was one of the things I had said a long time ago. I married into a soccer family.
Yeah.
Never got to play soccer myself. Enjoy watching the game as I learned it. You know, yes, they fall too much and act out, but it's like also too, I don't want to get kicked in the shin with a cleat. Like
No.
you see if their sock is ripped, like that shit hurt.
Yeah, no.
But I always said, I was like, you want to see a sport single-handedly bring the world together? Soccer.
Oh,
would do
for
it.
sure. My favorite rotation in college was soccer.
Yeah.
They were great humans. They were great athletes. They were great to work with. I was learning in clinicals. They let me probably fail a few times, like wrapping stuff. Like they were great.
Yep.
So thank you, World Cup, for saving the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. It's
The real football.
That's what my
Football.
father-in-law from Greece would say. Ike would say, "Oh, you mean football?" Yeah, sorry, football.
Yeah. So another thing that's going to lead us right into our deep dive today. Very viral clip on TikTok this weekend and on ESPN was the Mahomes throwing his helmet, being so angry about some offsides call. What do you think about it?
Oh man, I knew I was going to start this one off. Mr. Passionate and Intensity. Tell us what you think about it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try to summarize this. I'm not too good at summaries off the get, but I'm going to try.
You got it. Keep it up.
So I think this has a similarity to the difference between cocky and confident.
Yeah.
And how it can be misconstrued, or depending on somebody's bias and how they already feel about that person.
Yeah.
Whether they're that good and they've kicked your ass in a game, or they've kicked your team's ass in a game. Or, depending on the bias you might already have for that person, good, bad, or indifferent,
Right.
is also going to shape the way you view that. Emotions will get the best of anybody. However, in this case, our deep dive being on sportsmanship, I don't think that's in question. I think that's pure passion and leadership as well, because there's a lot that happened there. And the one thing I don't agree with is like the rule's the rule. And yes, Tony likes to line up a little close to the line. They showed clips of like, look at this one. This one is just as close or pretty close to what that was.
Right.
The rule's the rule. Was it close? Yeah, maybe. If you look at his head and his upper body, it's like, oh, wow. If you look at where his foot's placed, it's like, I would have thrown the flag myself, and I love the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I feel I'm pretty good taking my bias out of a lot of scenarios. But as far as him throwing the helmet, I think that's a passionate rant of, you got to do freaking better.
Yeah.
It's like, love you, but now I'm going to call you out.
Right.
Because you can't let something like that come up in question and line up that close. Like, you have to be aware where you're at. Like,
Right.
you're getting paid millions of dollars to line up and make that happen, because the play that transpired,
So cool.
oh, man, he throws the ball to Kelsey on the right hash, and Kelsey takes, 2 steps,
Yeah.
if that,
Yeah.
spins around, throws a stripe to Tony, and I'm glad he caught the ball,
Yeah.
first of all.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised on that.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
our receivers dropping balls.
So
33 drops.
Yeah. So it's like, but between all of the drops that he's firing missiles in on, all the drops, that scenario, and it's like, it cost them a game.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very bold way of passion and leadership on his part. I don't think there's sportsmanship in question. I think there's, the coddling, that, like, you used to see that all the time.
Yeah.
And, even Erica, before we came on here, it's like, everybody saw Tom Brady do stuff like that. He was very animated on the sideline.
Right.
You don't run the right route. You don't have the right timing. You don't catch the ball that's right in your freaking breadbasket. You're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
And you should. And I think unfortunately, the receiver in question here has not quite performed. And I don't think he's happy about not performing.
Right.
So it's not really an attack on him, but it's like at some point in time, enough's enough. And maybe there's some things that we don't know about too, where it needed to be said. I don't know what he's like off the field. I don't know what his work ethic is, but hasn't caught a whole lot of balls.
Yeah.
And then something like that, I think it's frustration. Could it be handled a little better? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because what would the impact be post this in the locker room? What if you see Tony come out, now he's got hands like glue, his work ethic's on, and it's like it could be a transition, a trajectory
mindset shift.
Transition for him. So that's my take on that. I tended to be a little bit that way, very intense but loved all my teammates, but I like it. He didn't get too out of control. He didn't like get up in his face. He didn't, he stood his distance a little bit, and then there's some people in between him, but I like it. And knowing I don't know Patrick Mahomes yet. Yet. But
Mr. Mahomes.
But from what I have seen about him, what he does do in the community, his intention, his heart, I like it.
Yeah. I think, as always, I look at it from the captain-coach perspective. It's where my mind always goes first. And, I mean, as a captain, as a quarterback, you are kind of the figurehead of that team. And so when you're harboring maybe frustrations or you're putting all of that on your shoulders, like there comes a tipping point for everyone. Everyone is human. Everyone's going to have that tipping point. And when it feels like the worst thing ever just happened to you, you're going to have that tipping point. But that also makes you a very relatable leader, a relatable person in the community, like you were saying, because he's not a robot. He's supposed to have emotions. If he didn't have emotions, he wouldn't be a good quarterback.
Right.
Newsflash, he's not a robot, everyone.
Right. He's a person.
So having that genuine feeling, that genuine emotion, everyone else probably had the exact same feeling, but he's probably been harboring that for so long that it just comes out. So do I think it's a sportsmanship issue? No, because the rest of his PR is clean. He does so much in KC, he does so much for the NFL. It's not sportsmanship at all.
No.
Did we hear what Patrick said to Josh Allen after the end of the game?
I did.
Dustin, did you hear?
Fill me in.
He said the cameras caught Mahomes telling Allen, wildest effing call I've ever seen. Offsides, offensive offsides on that play, man. Effing terrible. And then he went out and talked to the press about the refs afterwards. And so, he's passionate. He's mad. But
the one thing I will say, and this is something I've always said to my team, yes, there's going to be bad calls in the game. And, referees, especially in high school sports, it's a dying breed. They're begging for referees. So you might not always have the best quality of referees out there in certain scenarios. In this case, I'd like to think you do. But one thing I've always been a proponent of and tried to tell my teammates, and I will tell my kids and a lot of the teams that I have coached to this point, is it's kind of an uncontrollable. They're people too. But it's so easy to attack the refs. It's like it's like just leave the refs alone. Yes, time and place. So there's that 1%. In this scenario, like I said, I don't think you can blame the guy, but I wish they didn't come at the refs like that. If it was like consistent across the game, which I didn't feel like there was a lot of missed calls. I don't feel like then it's like, okay, there's a time and place. And if you had other things to back you up, but to just all of a sudden, because it did cost you the game, it's like, it's easy to let the fingers start flying and pointing you, this, you. And it's like, I just like to keep the refs out of it.
I always tell, whenever I'm at games, like supporting my family and stuff, people complain about the refs and the coaches. I always say, like, the application's open to everyone. You can be a ref. You can be a coach. No one's telling you can't. So it's like people who want to throw this like on Mahomes and be like, oh, he's a bad sport. He doesn't respect the refs. Like if he didn't respect the game of football, he wouldn't be playing it anymore.
And he did come out the day or two after and say, obviously you don't want to react that way. I mean, I care, man. I love it. I love this game and I love my teammates. I want to go out there and put everything on the line to win. But obviously you can't do that. Can't be that way towards officials or really anybody in life. He said on Monday.
And that's the thing. It's like, it's not that he doesn't know that.
Right.
Like emotions are the number one driver of decision making, not logic.
Yeah.
Like whether you're in sales, whether you're in teaching, whether it does not matter.
Yeah.
Emotion will always cloud judgment and most of the time dictate decision making. And filter is gone.
Yeah.
Like filter is full. Now you're just overflowing. And so it's stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, he's supposed to say that. No, I mean, that's legit. There's all kinds of different emotions. And I think the one that this is just coming to me right now, but I think the one that could be the most toxic if you let it is competitive.
Yeah.
Because you do care so much. And in his position, like he is leading this team.
Yep.
Like he is one of those guys, him and Kelsey, Jones, like they are leading this team and have that label, but literally the team's on his back. What he does really just dignifies the whole game. But that's the emotion, that's the competitiveness in him. And that's what I love to see about it. And he should be given a little grace because I want that on my team. Now, if he was a locker room problem, if he was a cancer in the locker room, if this was, recurring effect, if he's in their face and he's pointing fingers and like, you can tell some of those guys that we've seen in the league, then there's no room for it. But competitiveness is an emotion and could be the most toxic if you let it be.
Yeah.
But for him to come out and say something like that, I take that very genuinely.
Yeah, and I want to tie it back to the peer athlete too. Like, this is huge in the relationship department. You never know who's watching, and like you doing that on the sideline and your offers on the line to play at the next level, like it might be gone depending on who's watching you, how it gets out. Like, I mean, yes, he's Patrick Mahomes, but this like TikTok, this video was everywhere within minutes.
Yeah.
I wasn't even home when it happened, and I could see it in 5 minutes on my phone. And so, yes, he's Patrick Mahomes, and maybe not everyone in this area or like high school athletes are in the same spotlight, but there's still people watching. So it's important. Like, even if you are a leader, sometimes you just got to go home and harbor that on your own so that you don't affect the rest of the team. Yeah.
And here's something I guarantee you he did because of the class of person he is I guarantee you after the game, shortly after, maybe the next day, he probably got a hold of Tony and said, hey, he might have apologized. He might have ate his pride a little bit. But at the same time, I'm sure he held his ground a little bit and probably came with like, what can we do about this? What do you need? Like, here's where, how can I help you?
Yeah.
I'm sure he addressed it and said his piece to him as well, just because of the quality person he is. But here's one of the things I used to do with the teams I coached.
Yeah.
So, and it was...
Tell us your secret.
Yeah. One of the baseball teams. Well, it was actually one of the teams that it was super cool. We won the World Series with in 2013. We won the Pony World Series. And, you're going to have some of the in-team drama and stuff like that. So if there's something that happens like that, if I can coach them to have that split second and take a breath, I would always tell them it's a water cooler conversation. So if somebody messes up, boots a ball, drops a pass, this scenario, it's like water cooler now. And that was like, that's code word, right? And so you own up to it. And it's like, if you get called to the water cooler, take it. Like, and just hear them out. Because one, it's probably exactly what you need to hear and you know it. Two, there's something you can learn, or maybe there's a perspective shift that the other person needs to understand. But that was our code word. It's like, some ball go between somebody's legs. It's like, God dang it, Kyle. Like, what are you doing? It's like back to water cooler. Where are you at? Where's your head at? What do you need? But that was our code word. So that way stuff like that doesn't happen. Now, it's Patrick Mahomes. Right. He's kind of earned the right, and he has that leadership ability. He's in the NFL. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. So he has the ability to be on camera and react that way. But I want people to see how he reacted was still very tasteful and passionate and competitive. Younger sports, yes, absolutely, because mental, physical relationships is one of the pillars. You don't want to lose the relationship with your teammate. You don't want to look bad in front of a visiting stands. You don't want to look bad with scouts that might be in the stands, and you don't want to affect the parents of your teammates that you play with every day. Having something like that is a great outlet. So for some of you listening, maybe that'll help. But ours was like, hey, water cooler.
Yeah, mine's always take a lap. Like, all right, take a lap.
In the racing world, it's
think about it.
Grab a hot dog.
Yeah, that's funny. Go get a burger.
There was one day on the racetrack, Kyle Steffens said that to me one day. He's like, dang, Doc. He's like, when are you going to stop tearing shit up? I was like, when people stop freaking running into me. He goes, hey, best advice I ever got was grab a hot dog.
That's funny.
I was like, okay,
yeah,
fine.
I think sportsmanship
like
can
hot
look
dogs.
different. Shut up. I think sportsmanship can look different depending on who you are. So like we have this example of sportsmanship is the more passionate side, the leadership side, showing your true colors, your heart on your sleeve side. And then we have like Tyreek Hill, who after a like huge play is going to check on someone who is not getting up. And he's like, it's not even his own team. It's the opposing team. And he's like, okay, he needs a trainer. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So there's very different things when it comes to sportsmanship of how you act. There's the passionate side that we're talking about, and then there's that side too.
One last thing I'm going to bring up on this topic in particular, at least on Patty's side of things, is let's think about this from a totally different direction. What if he didn't respond like that?
Right.
Then what's at stake?
Right.
You know, did the coaches question him on like why didn't he stand up?
Yeah.
Because you know maybe nobody else would have. But what message would that have sent to his teammates? Because like I said, maybe there's something on. Maybe this guy did need a little bit of correction. But no matter who it was, you know, it could have been Travis.
Yeah.
Like, would he have responded the same way? It's like I think Travis would expect that.
Right.
But if he didn't respond in such a way where leadership needed to be had, he could still be put into question. We could be like, oh, does he not care? It's like,
Yeah.
Then you'd be having a whole different conversation of the same magnitude.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot with sportsmanship. I mean, we see it all the time with examples of like people finishing marathons with people. Like they stop their like pace and they go back to their friends. There's just a lot. There's the shaking the hands after games and how to do that respectfully. There's even on like the coaching side, like the sportsmanship isn't just people on the field. It's not people on the floor. It's also the people behind the scenes. So whenever like coaches being mean to other coaches, like you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
You're really just creating petty drama that's not going to help anyone. If anything, you're going to stress out your athletes. And what does that say about you as a coach?
Yep. And everybody likes to say they're visual learners.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, I can read it and I can, you know, there's kinesthetic, there's auditory, there's visual. Yes, everybody to some extent is going to learn visually. So here's the thing. Coaches, especially coaches of young kids or parents. And I just made a post today about my son, which is super cool. But people watch. The kids you coach, the athletes you coach, watch. So let them do what they're going to do and say what they're going to say, but how you respond to it, like they're watching you. You're literally coaching them to do the same thing. So with that being said, one of the things I like with sportsmanship is I always helped people up. So I literally, like, you tackle me, I tackle you, like, I helped people up.
Right.
What I think that is sportsmanship. The ego that goes along or the extra push down, like, yeah, I got you. Like, I hate that shit.
Yeah, no.
That's terrible sportsmanship. You want to catch a ball on great coverage, you catch the ball, like I get the intensity. Show it to the fans. Don't get up in my grill because you caught a ball over my head. You're supposed to do that. Yeah. Like that. Great job.
Yeah.
You just got paid $2.3 million today to catch that ball.
Right.
Like, get out of my face about it. Take it to your fans and let that intensity spark the crowd. Don't, like, so I always helped people up. I was never a big shit talker. That's a sportsmanship thing too. Yes, there can be some banter and the competitiveness. Yeah. But just to keep knocking people down and the extra shoves and the bitch talk, it's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants to win. If you didn't want to win, you wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So just remember that and be a good competitor. I mean, make it fun for everyone around. Try your hardest. Make it not an easy win.
Yeah.
It's really my favorite sportsmanship. Like, we're not going to go down easy.
Yeah. 100%.
And if we do, then congrats to you for beating us at our best.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. All right. So our Dustinism segment here.
Oh, boy.
Ask better questions, get better answers. So I actually have them on my computer this week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Might have had one come in on the cell phone.
The cellular. So our first one is asking about after sports. So that post-athlete life. How can they maintain muscle and do it in a healthy way after they're retiring from sports? You want to go?
You want me to go?
Doesn't matter.
That for me is like, I mean, diet and nutrition very much after is going to be super important. What you intake is, especially after being so high output.
Yeah.
So high output, so much energy expenditure, so much lifting, very dynamic in any sort of exercise you do, to then even shut that down 25%, 50%, and likely still stay pretty active. You're not going to be like super athlete or professional athlete active ever again. That's a whole different standard.
Yeah.
But diet and nutrition is huge. Stay active, but the increasing the proteins and like weaning yourself in. If you're gonna enjoy your pizza and you're gonna accept some of the dad bod, and it's like, look, I've done all that. Great, choose it. But if you want to maintain some of that, it's diet and nutrition, and that's something that I help a lot of clients with. But that's the biggest conversation you want to have. Yeah,
I think the other big thing perspective is you have to find something that you're gonna be passionate about the same way that you were about sports.
Yep.
I think like personally, whenever we're practicing 20 plus hours a week and working out on top of that, and then you stop doing that, like your body's not ready to just throw yourself into whatever you want. You have to find something like maybe it's low impact. Maybe you want to weight lift. Like you have to find something that you're going to be more passionate about than you were in the sport, because you're also most likely doing it on your own. It's not a team telling you, hey, we're doing this workout today. Hey, you have this today. It's your own motivation, and it's more intrinsic motivation than it is extrinsic.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other thing, this is where you can get into the mental side of it too, is have you accepted the fact that it's over?
Right.
Like it's never really over. You get to choose. Like you said, it's not cut out, just replace it.
Yeah.
But the mental side of it, one, are you ready for that? Have you had that conversation with yourself? And if you need to have it with somebody, have it with somebody.
Yeah.
But are you ready for that? If not, get ready for that. Be okay with it.
Right.
But then let that be different.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in all the hard work. Nobody is thinking less of you because you're no longer doing it. So just stay active, figure out what it is you want, find the pictures of yourself as you went through your career. What do you want to look like? What do you want to get back to? What do you want to maintain? But mentally, do not let it affect you. That maybe you won't have that 110% physique that 0.02 of the population ever has.
Yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, it's okay too, because maybe you're not practicing 20 plus hours a week. You're not working out in a weight room with a strength conditioning coach.
Right.
Like, it's okay to not look the same way that you did your senior year of college or high school.
Yeah.
It's natural.
Right. And if you do, then just commit to that and get there. Because then the other thing is if that's what you want to get back to and you want to hold 90% of the 110% you had, then you better frickin' do it.
Right.
And you can't, because that will kill you more than anything when you let yourself slack and you know it. So if you decide, decide.
Yeah.
So whatever you want, go get it.
Yeah.
And just stay consistent.
Yeah. And the part about maintaining muscle, it's really not about like maintaining your muscle that you had whenever you were an athlete. Like you're gonna have different muscles now. You're not doing the same things. You're not doing the repetitive movements anymore. Like as a dancer, my legs were always really, really strong. I never had any like upper body strength, core strength, great. But like it's not about maintaining my nice calves I had when I was turning every day. It's about maintaining it for what I needed to do now. Your body's supposed to be able to help you with what you need to do, not what anyone else needs it to do.
Boom. Mic drop. Love it.
All right. Well, or do you have one on your phone?
Yeah, but that's going to be a longer conversation.
All right. You got to tune in next time for that one.
Yeah, I think we'll save this one for next time for sure, because it's a good one, especially this time of season.
Perfect. Yeah, you'll have to tune in. All right. So that is a wrap up for today's episode of the Pure Athlete Podcast.
See ya.
Woo!